It's Sky from Tablogs, and today, we are going through the summary of The Silent Sea. You can also read the article on tabshows.rf.gd.
The movie is set in the year 2070. Many renowned scientists of the world are distressed because of the risk of a worldwide drought due to water scarcity. To prepare for such a situation beforehand, a group of researchers are sent to the Balhae research station on the moon. Their first experiment is performed on a fish inside a tank. They expose it to a few drops of mysterious liquid, similar to water. Initially, it causes the fish to suffocate, but then the molecules multiply, forming more water and eventually filling up the tank. In short, the fish managed to create a survivable environment on its own, thanks to the mysterious liquid. Although the first experiment was a success, something mysterious causes the station to close soon after, and the base is forgotten. 5 years later, in 2075, the forecast comes true and the world is hit with a critical worldwide water shortage. It has resulted in an all-time infant mortality rate due to various infections and diseases caused by the consumption of contaminated water. Government and private organizations in South Korea are vigorously investing in mega vertical farms in hopes of reducing water usage. Moreover, the government has divided the public into separate groups, and each group gets different quality and quantities of water, depending on the group's importance to human survival. Expectedly, the scheme isn't popular with most of the general public, as they are now deprived of clean water. Then, we are introduced to a Korean space agency named SAA. The agency, led by director Choi, is planning to send a crew to the Balhae Lunar Research Station. It is the same abandoned research facility on the moon where the fish experiment was conducted. It hides many government secrets, some of which might even solve the water problems on Earth. The crew consists of 9 members, all led by Captain Han, a soldier for the space agency. The mission is especially dangerous because in the last research, 117 crew members died in the base. They are told that the deaths were caused due to a radiation leak, but Dr. Song doesn't want to believe it. For the mission, Choi has roped in Dr. Song, an astrobiologist. She initially turned down the mission, but later changed her mind for the sake of finding out the truth about her late sister, who also lost her life in the Balhae accident 5 years ago. As a reward, Dr. Song is given a lifetime gold membership, which gives her unlimited access to safe and clean drinking water. Director Choi briefs the crew about the mission. It turns out that they have to retrieve at least 1 capsule of a research sample from the station on the moon. However, the information on what the samples consist of is supposedly lost and unknown. All they know is that the samples must be kept at a regulated low temperature range. Dr. Song suspects that the SAA is purposely withholding information about the parcel's content, but still decides to go on the mission. On the day of the takeoff, the main pilot is replaced by a pilot named Jisoo. The crew isn't happy with the last-minute change, but Captain Han orders everyone to stick it out. The spacecraft takes off and safely enters the Earth and later the Moon's orbit. However, during the landing, it malfunctions, and they crash on the Moon's surface, 7.6 kilometers northwest of their destination. The mission's spacecraft falls off a cliff, and the surviving crew is forced to travel to the station by foot. A former researcher at the Balhae station named Hwang has sustained serious injury. Halfway through the journey, he stops and is unable to continue. Since he has been to the station before for research, he seems to know something that the others don't. He tries to convey a message to the crew but ends up passing away, dealing a serious blow to the crew's morale. Nevertheless, they continue their journey and almost run out of oxygen. When they reach their destination at Balhae Station, they desperately fill up the tanks and manage to survive. The series then flashes back to the past, and Dr. Song is seen trying to find out the truth about her sister's death. She opens an encrypted file from her sister's workstation, trying to find out what she was working on at the lunar station. She eventually cracks the code, and a message pops up on the screen that reads, "Find Luna." Back to the present, the crew comes across an old corpse that has physical signs similar to that of drowning. They are confused because there couldn't possibly be enough water on the moon for a person to drown and die. The crew is not able to identify the dead body from their database and are puzzled to see an automatic weapon in the corpse's possession, suggesting that he was a mercenary. Moreover, all the systems of the station are functional, and the station lacks the dangerous radiation that had allegedly wiped out the staff 5 years prior. Dr. Song's belief that SAA is keeping them in the dark becomes stronger, and she suggests performing an autopsy of the corpse, but the captain orders everyone to stick to the plan and look for the command center instead. They eventually locate the center and bring the massive facility back to life. However, the communication system is down, and the crew isn't able to contact mission control. The radiation levels in the control room seem normal, unlike what the mission control had told them. Dr. Song boldly takes off her life support to prove that they are not surrounded by high levels of radiation, and then everyone follows her lead. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. She again suggests performing a full inspection of the station, but Han reminds her that it's not their job to investigate the cause of the Balhai accident. They are here to retrieve the samples, which is their first and only priority. There are 3 storages in the facility where the sample could possibly be found, so the crew splits up into teams and searches the station for viable samples. A crew member named Dr. Hong, a soldier, E2, and the captain head for Storage 1. Tai-suk, Sun, Su-chan, and E1 are sent to Storage 2. Meanwhile, Chief Gong, Dr. Song, and Jisoo go to Storage 3. Dr. Song tells the crew that as soon as they locate the capsule, they must check the thermoregulator to make sure that it's at an extremely low temperature. On the way to Storage 3, Jisoo reveals that Captain Han returned back from retirement on this mission for a special purpose. He wants to get his sick daughter access to a higher class of water. It turns out that after the Great Drought, 1 in every 10 children passes away. Meanwhile, Team 1 comes across a jammed gate. When they force open the door, they come across a number of corpses, frightening the team. A quick assessment of the situation shows that the victims were desperately trying to escape, and the area was shut down in an emergency right after the accident. The situation is contrary to the government report, which stated that the victims died way before the shutdown. Dr. Song observes the bodies remotely from her wrist computer and comments on their characteristics of drowned bodies. She insists on checking the infirmary to access their medical records, and Han rudely turns her down, telling her to take her mind off of her personal curiosity. The first and second group eventually reach their respective destinations, but the visible capsules are empty or missing, and the storage units look as if someone already raided the place for the samples. In the meantime, Team 3 detects a foreign presence moving around the station. When the head of security, Gong, goes around to inspect, Jisoo tells Dr. Song that he knows about her late sister and empathizes with her. He also reveals that if she wishes to check the infirmary to get to the bottom of the truth, he would cover for her. After a brief pause, Dr. Song decides to utilize the opportunity. Somewhere else, crew member Su-chan of Team 2 sees a corpse with a capsule in his hands. He touches the corpse, which, upon contact, releases minuscule particle droplets that enter Su-chan's eyes. After Dr. Song leaves for the infirmary, Jisoo enters Storage 3 on his own and looks around for samples. In the process, he drops his flashlight. When he tries to fetch it, some invisible force seemingly pulls it away, frightening the hell out of him. He collects himself and brushes it aside as a hallucination. Back to Team 2. After failing to locate a viable capsule, they head back to the command center. Han, on the other hand, monitors Dr. Song's movements from his watch and orders her to rejoin Jisoo immediately. Inside Storage 3, Jisoo notices a viable capsule near the flashlight and manages to retrieve it. The capsule appears to be filled with water. When Dr. Song returns to Storage 3, she notices some unknown entity attacking Jisoo and lifting him up in the air by his neck before dropping him to his death. Dr. Song also notices the entity taking the capsule away before disappearing. Soon, others arrive and learn about the incident. As expected, they find it hard to believe Dr. Song's account, but a quick analysis of Jisoo's body reveals a fractured skull, ankle, and arm, which couldn't have possibly resulted from a fall. Han orders everyone to return to the command center before going through Dr. Song's body camera with Gong. It turns out the intruder escaped through the ventilation system. Since the intruder realized the value of the sample and hence took it away, Song theorizes that the intruder is a human. Back at the command center, team member Tai-suk tries to establish contact with Mission Control, and after failing to succeed, he hypothesizes that there might be a problem with the radio tower outside. Suddenly, Su-chan starts shaking violently and expels unnatural amounts of water. Dr. Hong orders everyone to step back and put on their hazmat suits. Han, Gong, and Song also learn about the situation and rush back to the command center. Dr. Hong tries her best to save Su-chan, but he eventually dies from drowning symptoms, much like the corpses littering the station. Dr. Hong tells Han that they must quarantine Su-chan's body until they determine the exact cause of death. She proposes moving him to the main lab infirmary and performing an autopsy right away. Chief Gong is shaken by his brother's death, and Han attempts to comfort him. Han also finally gives Song permission to go through the medical records of the Balhae crew who lost their lives in the accident. The crew also learns that the entity that killed Jisoo can access areas that are not in the station's blueprints. Han decides to search the ventilation shaft with Gong and E2, while team members Tae-suk and Sun are ordered to establish contact with Mission Control. Sun is severely demoralized by the recent events, and Tae-suk tries to cheer him up while trying to establish communication with Mission Control. Dr. Hong performs an autopsy of Su-chan's body, while Song and another soldier named E1 unsuccessfully try to access the encrypted medical records of the crew, who lost their lives in the accident 5 years ago. Song decides to secure tissue samples from other bodies and trace them back to when Su-chan's symptoms broke out. Meanwhile, Han, Gong, and E2 enter the ventilation system to look for the entity and come across drawings seemingly made by it. Soon, they notice a biosignal approaching them from the front and wait to come face to face with the entity. However, it passes them by. As Song collects tissue samples from the dead bodies, E1 wonders if he also got infected since he came in contact with Su-chan. Suddenly, Dr. Hong calls Song back to the infirmary, and the latter asks E1 to take care of the samples for her before heading back. On her way, she suddenly stops before the data storage chamber of the station. After a brief pause, she rejoins E1 to collect more samples. Afterward, they return back to the infirmary, and Dr. Hong reveals that Su-chan drowned to death, and the water rose up from the inside. Song goes through the samples collected from other bodies, but fails to locate anything unusual. Han and the others continue to follow the entity's biosignal, which leads them to a gate that requires level 1 access. Left with no choice, Han and his team return to the command center. There, Tae-suk informs him that there's a problem with the digital unit connected to the communications tower, and someone needs to go outside to switch the equipment, while another edits the protocol inside and reboots the system. Without blinking, Han volunteers to do the job. Back at the infirmary, Dr. Hong shows Song Su-chan's blood sample, which contains an unknown substance. Soon, Han arrives and informs them about the latest development. Before he leaves, Song privately talks to him and expresses amazement at the intruder not attacking her, even when she got really close to it. Maybe the intruder is a simp. Moreover, since it moves by using shafts, and it always manages to escape because it's a step ahead, it seems like the entity is familiar with the internal structure of the facility. Song strongly believes that the entity could be a human survivor from 5 years ago. Even though Han finds it hard to believe, Song tells him that if the government could be wrong about the radiation levels, it could very well be mistaken about survivors too. Han retorts that if it really was a survivor, it wouldn't have stolen the sample and attacked them. As Han heads out to repair the communication system, the movie flashes back to the past. Han is seen walking to the National Medical Center. His daughter is admitted to the hospital, and the doctor tells him that he needs a higher water classification to stop her condition from worsening. If her condition worsens, she could lose her legs forever. Back in the present, Song and Hong analyze the water in Su-chan's blood. It has the solubility and surface tension of water, but different mass and density. Also, it doesn't contain any microorganisms, and hence is similar to distilled water. Meanwhile, Han climbs down the station using a safety harness to fix the communication system. However, out of nowhere, the defunct platform elevator below him becomes operational and shoots above, knocking the safety harness out. Han narrowly saves his life and holds on to a wall until the crew above drops another rope. Unfortunately, the elevator again free falls from the top, and the crew is forced to drop the rope. Han manages to anchor his rope on the wall before jumping out of the elevator's way. In the process, he damages his life support system. He rapidly loses his oxygen, but insists on returning only after fixing the communication system. He eventually brings the system back up, but before he can return, he collapses to the ground. Back at the infirmary, Song points out that the water in Suchan's body stopped increasing in quantity after his death, since it multiplies rapidly once the host is infected and stops its activity when the host dies. Water could be a virus. Meanwhile, when Han opens his eyes, he finds himself inside the station. It turns out Gong and E2 brought him back after he lost consciousness due to lack of oxygen. They return to the command center, and to their dismay, they learn that there's no exchange of signals from mission control, despite the system not showing any malfunction. Suddenly, the computer detects an unknown signal coming in from outside and being sent to the Storage 3 area. Han and the others immediately rush there and investigate Jisoo's body. Upon searching his corpse, they discover a mobile device with which he had been maintaining periodic contact with an outside organization. It turns out that he was secretly acting as an agent for RX, a rival space research organization that also wants the samples. Han's team finally manages to establish contact with Earth using the device, and Director Choi expresses regret over the death of 3 crew members, including the spy, and Han reminds her that she approved the co-pilot to be changed at the last minute. He also tells Choi about the survivor and the lack of radiation levels in the station. The lack of reaction from her makes Han suspect that Choi hasn't been completely honest with him. He warns her that if she's been keeping information from him, the success of this operation will no longer be his interest. Choi assures him that she has no reason to hide anything from him, and that the rescue ships will be sent after they retrieve the samples. As Han and others prepare to look for the intruder, Song and her team return back to the command center. Song asks Han if he knew that the sample they were sent to retrieve was water. Han's guilty silence answers the question, and a flashback shows him being briefed about the water that Song's sister discovered on the moon. Han finally breaks the news that it was that water which killed everyone at the Balhae station. The lunar water multiplies endlessly, which makes it seem like an amazing resource. If one could control its multiplication and commercialize it, they have the potential of saving mankind. It's also revealed that the lunar water springs into action after coming in contact with a living organism. Song feels angry that the scientists at Balhae died due to the lunar water, but the government covered up everything to hide the existence of lunar water. As a way to compensate for lying to her, Han agrees to let her access the data storage of the station. There, they come across huge amounts of data. Suddenly, a green leaf emerging from the ground catches their attention. When they remove what seems like a lid, they discover the basement covered by green plants, much to their surprise.
The group acknowledges that this is a great discovery and is eager to explore it. The soldiers E1 and E2 volunteer to go down first, and the captain allows them. After they ensure the place is safe, they are followed by the rest of the group. Initially, the greenery astonishes them, making them unsure of what caused life on the moon to thrive. But then, they enter a room full of lunar water capsules. One of the capsules is broken, and the little water sample inside it seems to have caused the growth of the entire vegetation. The plants produced oxygen and formed an ecosystem of their own. If humans use the lunar water correctly, the Earth might go back to its original form, but it is clear that they cannot control its effects yet. The captain orders the crew to start the retrieval process, which is the primary aim of the mission. They are extra careful while handling the capsules after seeing what they can do to humans. Everything goes well until E1 is attacked by a fast creature. Song and the captain see this, but their eyes cannot catch the enemy because of its speed. The captain runs to save E1 and comes to a halt after noticing that his hand has been cut off. It turns out that the creature ripped E1's arm because he was holding a capsule of lunar water. The others point their guns at the creature, threatening it to stop. A soldier shoots her, making her run away while the others follow behind. A while later, Song and the captain get a good look at the creature and find out she is a little girl with superhuman powers. She has a strange organ behind her ears that looks like gills, and her eyes roll back rapidly. It is almost as if she has mutated to adapt to the lunar environment. The crew tries to catch her, but she runs away, breaking a capsule on the way. To everyone's surprise, the water in the capsule starts spreading, threatening to take over all of them. The captain prioritizes their safety and orders everyone to get out of the basement immediately. By now, the crew member who was injured is dead, but they do not bother to bring him outside. Ryu picks up the case of lunar water that had been collected. Before he follows the others, he sees that the rest of the stock of water is turning red. This means now the water inside the case is the only way to save the Earth. After everyone evacuates the basement, the water spreads and takes over the dead body, causing the basement to flood simultaneously. Outside, Dr. Hong sees that E2 has been injured while trying to fight the little girl earlier. They quickly bring him to the infirmary and find out that his lungs have punctured and he needs immediate surgery. The group is assured because of Dr. Hong's presence, since she is trained to handle similar situations. However, trouble arises when they fall short of E2's blood type. In the end, Ryu offers his blood and saves a life. When everything calms down, the crew gathers to talk about the monster girl who killed E1. Song theorizes that the girl must think of them as intruders because she clearly has been living in the Balhae base for a long time. Moreover, she was looking for lunar water, which could mean she is trying to stop them from stealing what is hers. As for how she ended up in the base, the only possible explanation is that she is a survivor of the Balhae fiasco that occurred 5 years ago. A while later, the captain gets a call with SAA. Cho is delighted that they got their hands on the water, but wants the captain to kill the intruder as soon as possible. He argues that the intruder looked like a child who survived the toxins 5 years ago. However, Cho refuses to believe him and exclaims that the kid might be a thief from a different nation trying to ruin the mission. She promises to send the backup as soon as possible. Right after the call, we see a picture of her and the monster girl pop up on her screen. This makes it evident that she knows the girl prior to the mission and is hiding something from the captain. The captain, on the other hand, feels his moral dilemma coming in the way of the mission. Following that, he meets Song, who wants to go to the secret data storage unit to retrieve information about the Lunar Water Project. The captain is initially skeptical because he doesn't want to risk any more lives. But then, Song explains that they cannot bring the water to Earth before they know for sure that it is safe. After contemplating her comment, he allows her and Dr. Hong to go to the classified data unit. Dr. Hong keeps Ryu in charge of staying with the injured until he is needed somewhere else. When Ryu is alone, he gets a text from someone on the Earth asking him if they have acquired the sample water. It is then revealed that he is a corporate spy who has been sent to sabotage the mission and retrieve the capsules for the same organization that appointed Gisu. His next orders are to eliminate the crew members and bring the sample to the backup party coming to retrieve him from the moon. Meanwhile, the captain and the other men of the crew are looking for the little girl. They walk through vents and shafts, assuming that she has been using them to travel around the base. Eventually, they reach a hallway that is not on the map, and they find out that it connects to all the ventilation, forming a maze-like structure. Then there are Dr. Hong and Song, who are in the data unit. They use a higher level card to download the information about the project. While it is downloading, Hong asks Song what her sister was like. Since she also died in the Balhae base 5 years ago, the topic is sensitive for Song. Still, she reveals that she never knew her sister was working here before she was informed about her death. They grew apart over the years, and Song didn't pick up the last phone call from her sister. It is still the greatest regret of her life. By the time she is done telling the story, the data is downloaded, but none of it contains any information about the Luna project. It is clear that someone deliberately deleted everything related to it. Meanwhile, Ryu collects the capsules of the only remaining lunar water with the intention of stealing them. He is caught red-handed by Song, but manages to get off the hook by making up a story. However, he eventually has to place the capsules back in the freezer. All of a sudden, the little girl appears at the door to the lab. Ryu points his gun at her while the ladies step aside. The captain and the rest of the crew are also informed immediately. Song wants to approach the girl with caution, but before she can, Ryu hastily shoots her, causing her to go on a rampage. Suddenly, Song halts everyone in their tracks, asking them to leave the girl to her. She sees that the girl is looking at the capsule and tries to win her trust by handing it over. The plan works, and the girl calms down. But they are interrupted again when Ryu shoots her, causing the capsule to break. The girl is also shot in the process. She struggles on the table as her gills open and close repeatedly. Just when the crew thinks that she might die, the girl surprises everyone. Her wounds heal in an instant and she grows stronger again. She quickly rushes away through the shaft of the ceiling, leaving the crew wondering. Following the incident, they keep the remaining capsules safely inside the refrigerator again. The captain calls Song out for being stupid and putting everyone's life at risk. But Song argues that the girl is their only shot at finding out a way to control lunar water because she is the only person immune to it. Instead of trying to kill her, they have to win her trust or capture her. The rest of the group agrees and they think of a way to control the girl. They decide to put a capsule in the hallway as bait and close the doors to keep her locked. Hong checks Ryu's temperature and finds out he is feverish. This again gives him a reason to stay at the infirmary while everyone else is working on the other side of the base. This time, he is determined to kill anyone who comes in his way. Somewhere else, the captain gets on a call with the chief of resource group, Mr. Kim. He trusts the man and asks him everything he knows about the Balhae base. Kim replies that when it was shut down by Cho 5 years ago, there was someone who opposed her orders. The captain wants him to elaborate further, but Mr. Kim asks him to talk to Song instead. Following the call, Kim goes to see the captain's daughter, who is not getting any better. Kim has promised to look after her and is doing his best to keep his promise to the captain. Somewhere outside the water distribution facility, many poor people are fighting and crying for a single drop. Back on the lunar base, the crew develops an elaborate plan to catch the little girl. Song stands in the middle of a hallway with a capsule to lure her in. The captain is keeping a close eye on her from one side of the hallway, while 2 more men are on the other side. As they wait for the girl, Ryu is busy somewhere else, collecting the capsules for the second time. He walks away with them, but right then, E2 gains consciousness. Even though he is heavily injured, he goes to check the refrigerator and finds the capsules missing. He is about to contact the captain when Ryu appears and shoots him dead. Sometime later, Mr. Hong arrives at the infirmary and finds both Ryu and E2 missing. She informs the captain through a device, but he has to focus on the execution of the plan before the disappearance. Suddenly, the group sees someone approaching them at a great speed on a tablet. The guy hides while Song stays in the hallway. When the girl enters the designated zone, Song is supposed to step out. However, she refuses to do so and wants to form a connection with the girl instead. In a moment of panic, the captain pulls her aside, causing the girl to panic as well. She tries following them behind, but her leg is stuck because of the closing door. Song, yet again, wants to help her, but is bitten by the girl. She struggles and cries for help, making the captain hit her with a tranquilizer gun. To their surprise, the girl hugs Song before falling unconscious. Then, Song notices Luna 073 written on the back of the little girl's neck. At the same time, Ryu reaches the control panel and closes all the doors of the base. Before the group comprehends what is going on, Luna gains consciousness and runs away through a shaft. Song follows her and is stuck in a different room than the captain. Still, she decides to track the girl through the shaft. In the meantime, Dr. Hong offers to bring the capsules to a safer location. But upon checking the freezers, the capsules are already gone. She also finds E2's dead body in one of the freezers and is in shock. Song is still following Luna, and for some reason, the little girl is showing her the way and waiting for her to catch up. Eventually, Song reaches a messy room where Luna has been staying all this time. She opens a compartment and finds her laying down inside. The two look at each other, trying to analyze what the other person is thinking. Song makes the first attempt at talking and asks her how her leg is. When Luna replies with nothing, Song brings out candies and teaches her how to eat them. The two share a special bond, and Song senses that the little girl trusts her. Dr. Hong is in the infirmary, shocked to have found E2's dead body inside the freezer. She composes herself before quickly informing the captain. Meanwhile, the captain is in the hallways trying to look for a way out after all the gates trap them. E2's death and the disappearance of lunar water both come as a huge shock to him. He asks Chief Gong to continue looking for Luna while he goes to the infirmary through a vent to check who stole the water. On his way, he also calls a crew member, Kim's son, who is nearer to the command center. Upon being told that Ryu might be an imposter who killed E2, Kim's son puts his guard up. He looks for Ryu's location on the panel and sees that he is in the command center as well. Just when Kim's son is aware of its presence, Ryu comes into sight and points a gun at him. He wants to know why the others are looking for Song and what is the deal with Luna. Even though his mission is to kill the others and bring the water to Earth, Luna's presence has caused him to divert from his main goal. He shoots Kim's son on the leg and asks him to reveal everything he knows. Scared, the poor guy tells him that Song went after Luna. When sure that he is about to be killed, Kim's son brings out a capsule and threatens to hit Ryu with it. However, Ryu shoots him thrice, not giving him a chance to react. The capsule also breaks in the process and the water inside starts to spread. To stop it from taking over the command center, Ryu closes and locks the door. Inside, Kim's son begs for his life while Ryu watches him die. Soon, he vomits gallons of water and hallucinates himself falling into a deep sea and drowning. Eventually, after much struggle, he dies on the floor. Even after his death, his body doesn't stop releasing lunar water at an outrageous rate. Ryu watches this with a shaky breath, finally coming to terms that he killed his teammates. However, he is too far gone to look back at this point. In the meantime, Song is with Luna, who is now asleep. After seeing that the little girl had her sister's picture, Song feels a sense of responsibility toward her. Then, she notices a hard drive on Luna's bed. She doesn't waste much time before going through it on a computer. The drive has all the information about the Lunar Water Project. Song also finds an archive of videos starting from the very first experiment. In the first video, she notices her sister in the group of researchers. They drop a few drops of lunar water on a fish inside a box. The water molecules act as usual and multiply rapidly, eventually filling up the box and giving the fish an environment it can survive. Next, Song discovers another archive named Luna. This is when she finds out that the experiments were not just performed on animals, but on a clone human girl as well. The little girl's name is Luna 073 because she is the 73rd clone of the child and the only one who survived the cruel experiments performed on her. Everyone else was treated like guinea pigs and killed. Song watches each video of the clone's death, frozen in shock at the cruelty and nonchalance of the researchers. Then, she finds a video of her sister explaining that she wishes the experiment ends soon. She is also one of the researchers who killed the children, thinking that it is for the sake of humanity. Now that Song knows about her acts, she doesn't know how to feel about her sister. She imagines talking to her, but the conversation is short and it brings her no peace. A while later, Song injects a capsule of lunar water into Luna's leg, which heals her injury. Meanwhile, Dr. Hong is also on her way to the command center to find and control Ryu. She has to use the vents because the doors are locked. However, while doing so, she slips and falls into a storage unit that is not on the map. Although injured, she tells the captain about what happened and starts looking through the room. To Dr. Hong's surprise, she finds a room filled with dead clones inside zip bags hung on the ceiling. There are about 72 children who were killed in the lunar water experiment. The sight makes Dr. Hong fall to the ground in disgust. Just then, the captain arrives and calms her down. He is also as shocked as Dr. Hong at the sight. They walk through the hanging corpses and find an exit on the other side of the room. At the same time, Ryu is trying to disable the air purification system so he can run away and leave the rest of the crew to die. However, while doing so, he finds a pressure anomaly forming on the base. It is then revealed that the water that was in the basement has multiplied and has filled it to the brim. It is now a threat to the entire base, which might flood any second. The captain and Dr. Hong manage to get out of the storage unit and enter the command center. They find Kim Sung's dead body, which makes it clear that Ryu's goal is to kill everyone. After that, they finally unlock the doors that Ryu had locked earlier. The chief then goes to look for Ryu while Dr. Hong goes to the main lab and waits for everyone. Because the doors are now open, Gong can also make his way to look for Song and Luna. Luna is now completely comfortable around Song. She even tries talking to her and asks her for more candies. Suddenly, they are interrupted by Gong, who thinks of Luna as a threat. He wants to kill her, but Song stands in front of the little girl. Through a device, the captain tells Gong to bring Luna to the lab alive. Only then does he keep his gun aside. Luna runs outside through the hallways while the other two follow her behind. When she takes a wrong turn, Song asks her to follow them the other way. Gong doubts that she will obey the orders, but Luna surprises him by doing as told. A relieved Song tries to follow her again but stops when a drop of water falls on her face. This means the lunar water has entered the crevices and vents, and the base is at risk of being flooded. Outside, the sun starts to set, and the temperature drops at an exponential rate. The water freezes, giving the crew some more time to escape. However, the water inside the temperature-regulated areas in the base is still flowing. Amidst the chaos, the captain finds Ryu and attacks him. The betrayer can hardly fight the captain, unlike how he was with his other targets. The captain manages to disarm him and keep him in a chokehold. When Ryu realizes he can no longer fight, he tells the captain that only he knows what happened in the base 5 years ago. Ryu seems to know something that everyone else doesn't, and the captain gets distracted, which gives him a chance to escape. They point their guns at each other when suddenly, lunar water breaks from above Ryu. He falls to the ground knowing that his death is near. A flashback shows us how the researchers were killed in the base 5 years ago. It turns out the government was secretly being criticized for the project, and an investigation was about to be held. To avoid being exposed, President Cho sent soldiers to kill all the researchers and frame it as a radiation outburst. That way, no one would want to come to the base with the fear of being killed. Song's elder sister was the chief researcher, and she too was killed in the fiasco. Other than that, Ryu was one of the soldiers responsible for abandoning them at the base. He regrets that day, which is why he thinks humans do not deserve water. Back in the present, the hallways of the base start filling up with lunar water. The captain meets Song and the others in the lab and tells them about Ryu's death. Suddenly, Song feels sick and starts suffocating. She remembers the drop of water that fell on her earlier and locks herself in another room to keep the others safe. Soon, she starts vomiting water and falls unconscious. In her dream, she also sees herself drowning in the sea and meeting her sister. When she wakes up, she finds herself on a bed with Dr. Hong beside her. It turns out that her vitals are returning back to normal even after being exposed to lunar water. Dr. Hong believes this might be because of Luna's bite that acted as an antibody. The captain wants to bring Luna and the samples back to Earth, but before that, they have to make sure Luna won't be at risk of cruel experiments again. The captain calls Mr. Kim from SAA and tells everything that is going on. Mr. Kim discloses that he has started a protest against Cho, and people at SAA have also begun to see the lunar project for what it is. He promises to make sure no one gets a monopoly on Luna and the water if they are brought back to Earth. With his promise, the only thing left to do is find the capsules that are with Ryu and return home. A while later, the captain approaches Luna and puts a tracker on her leg. Although skeptical, she allows him and forms a connection with him as well. Then, her eyes land on a sticker on his bodysuit. It was given to him by his sick daughter before the mission. A flashback shows us that his daughter thought the sticker was a way for him to return to her anytime he wants. Although the sticker is very close to him, he hands it to Luna without hesitation. By now, Gong has prepared everything for their departure. They make their way towards the exit, but have to stop when Luna comes to a halt and puts her ear on the floor. She can hear the water flowing towards them, but before she can tell the others, they start hearing the noise too. They immediately run towards the exit while closing the doors behind them. Still, the water follows them, breaking all the doors with force. On the way, the group comes across Ryu, who is still alive but not in good condition. He holds them at gunpoint, threatening to kill them if they take a step further. Gong shoots him dead, but before dying, Ryu also manages to shoot him. The crew then runs to the exit and wears the spacesuits. The captain tries his best to help Gong, but the injury is too serious for him to survive. Eventually, he passes away. After everyone is dressed, the captain quickly tries opening the door, but he notices that the system failure has caused a malfunction, which means he will have to manually press a button from the hallway for it to open. When no one is looking, the captain goes to the hallway and closes the door in between. Song notices this and begs him to return, but he has made his decision. He will have to sacrifice his life for them to reach outside safely. The door finally opens and the water enters the hallway. On the other hand, the captain dies while on the other, Song and the group get to save their lives by stepping outside. When they are fully out, Song sees a helmet on the floor. Moreover, Luna is nowhere to be seen. The water in the base comes out through the windows and crevices, but freezes instantly. Song and Dr. Hong eventually find Luna looking at the Earth without a spacesuit. It is then revealed that she has completely adapted to the moon's environment and can live here normally. A while later, Luna finds the captain on the verge of death. He was thrown outside by the force of the water. In the last scene, she hands him a pin and watches him die. It is then narrated that the rescue shuttle found Song, Luna, and Dr. Hong and brought them back to Earth. Furthermore, the Earth is made safe for Luna because Mr. Kim